Woody Allen's concept of the meaninglessness of life is strongly connected to his sense of the transience of life. For him it is absurd that all life and culture will be eventually swept away by a dying sun. Moreover, every generation every 100 years is completely washed clean from the earth. In a 2013 BBC interview, Allen was playfully criticised for this pessimistic view. He is living the good life, is he not? So why complain about the meaninglessness of life? Allen's response was to double down on the transience explanation for his universal pessimism. He maintained that both winners and losers were on the same train and would both end up in the same junkyard, as per his 1980 movie, Stardust Memories. To quote him directly, the people who are winners on the train and the people who are losers on the train end up at the same junkie depot. One might note that Allen's analysis of time as transience is pretty standard. It remains a somewhat inventive re-dramatisation of the Vanitas aesthetic, in which the globe, the feast and the conqueror's helmet, all the stuff of rich winning duration, is knowingly set next to the skull, the rotting fruit and the fruit fly, in the Baroque equivalent of Allen's junkyard, the artist-scholar's cluttered curiosity-packed studio. There is, of course, something profoundly off about Allen's glib analysis of both time and the meaning of life, and indeed the existential significance of social status and winning and losing. Many people can see it immediately, but know instinctively to stay quiet, lest they be deemed vulgar, unsophisticated oiks, unversed in the proper metaphysics. Alas, many more remain in awe of intellectuals and their pompous jargon, again since it is deemed to be deep and sophisticated, and many more embrace the intellectuals' mono-orthodox chatter, since it is their wish to be counted among their number. And so the large vocal mass go along with the intellectuals' temporal metaphysics, however much it clashes in practice with their everyday practical lives of greedy lord-time craving. One might note in passing the acuity of the interviewer here in taking Allen to task for his manifest hypocrisy. But we must be aware, Allen's worldview is never seriously questioned within the cathedral, and he is not seriously pressed for any proper answer by the interviewer in question. For there has hitherto been no real conceptual framework with which to challenge the pro-transience worldview beyond this offhand, now, surely life has meaning, middle-brow interjection, designed purely to enable the interviewee, Woody Allen, an opportunity to offer a fuller elucidation of his nihilistic worldview. A worldview which one reasonably suspects is in any case also secretly held by the interviewer. I, however, do offer such a conceptual framework, which would enable a proper critique of the transience worldview. To be brief, time's transience is just a scam to pretend that a rich life and a poor life are just the same, because death. It is a psyop to confuse the difference between winning and losing that is lord time and slave time. Ultimately, at its most basic, one can say that transience is a psyop to confuse the difference between winning and losing, in order to deter the strongman from grabbing the winning fruits of the earth. For these winning fruits are made of time, time squirming in the pleasure palace over time twisted on the rack. And so, to my choice of Woody Allen and Stardust Memories as example of transience as psyop. To begin with, this film offers a curious way into a critique of such a psyop. For the obvious hypocrisy of transience philosophy is accidentally revealed through Allen's pessimistic philosophy, through Stardust Memories as film, and through the BBC interview in particular. The absurdity of transience philosophy is revealed through the sheer tenor of Allen's middle-brow kvetching. That is, there is a kind of symptomology possible here. More technically, the absurdity of transience philosophy is revealed by the lazy way in which Allen puts together his pro-transience worldview, the building bricks as it were. For it is the dying sun, big cosmos, and a routine fake sublime that enables him to shave off the difference between winners and losers from a vantage point completely outside their own deep existential engagement with the earth. Here we see rudely exposed an old trick at work, the vastness of the universe as the atheist's cheap substitute for the eye of God. That is, we see through Allen's autodidact existentialism some of the inner workings of the more academic and esoteric existentialism embedded in mainstream academia, that more obviously respectable pillar of the cathedral. Most importantly, and it is here that Woody Allen's own inventiveness and comic genius helps us out a little, the absurdity of Allen's pro-transience worldview is revealed by the laboured nature of the train junkyard analogy, its sheer clunkiness. One more thing. Woody Allen, both the neebish character he plays in his many films, and Woody Allen himself as real-life, over-self-conscious, hypersensitive New York intellectual, exposes the essence of transience philosophy. If transience philosophy was an animal, Woody Allen would be it. When the political right mouth the weary platitudes of transience thought, they imagine themselves to be burly Heideggerians in the Black Forest. When the political left mouth these same platitudes, they imagine themselves to be edgy Bataillons, knocking back absinthe in film noir Parisian cafes. But in truth, they are this guy. Speaking to the right at the moment, I would say this. Transience philosophy is not of the right. The true authentic right is about the pathos of the difference between winning and losing, whether the right likes it or not, and thus the difference between slave time and lord time. The true right has nothing in common with the transience pathos. So, speaking again to the right, do you really want to be this guy? Do you really want to mouth this 2,000-year platitude of tempus fugit for another 2,000 years? Or do you want another paradigm that is not crumbling at the edges? More seriously, do you want your time or don't you? Do you want the excitement of the eternal battle for the winning fruits of the earth and the concomitant battle for lord time over slave time? Or do you want to view time from the perspective of the end of all time? That is, do you want to see all time from an existential zero point, itself viewed as a universal junkyard at the end of a grubby train ride?
The people who are winners on the train and people who are losers on the train wind up at the same junkie depot